Halloween, my favorite holiday. I really don't think there's a time of year I enjoy more. The atmosphere, the thrills, the fact it's the only time of the year I get away with drawing spooky stuff. What's not to love? Got everything set up. Spooky background, spooky persona design. Before the season, I start talking about things that scare me. Let me check. Okay, screw it, we're talking about Scooby Doo. Yeah, since my first Halloween video last year was on Scooby Doo, might as well do it again. Last time I talked about Witch's Ghost. Now I not only found it underrated, but that was one of the best movies to watch for the Halloween season, with such special autumn aesthetics, atmosphere, and a fun and engaging story. Hal introduced the Hex Girls, and a bit on some others in what I call the Renaissance trilogy. But we're not covering those. Let's go further back, to a weird time in Scooby Doo history. Yeah, back in the 80s, the franchise was pretty much losing its roots with a ton of change-ups. Most notably, kinda getting rid of the entire cast and focusing on Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy Doo. Oh boy, maybe this is scary. But okay, I'm not gonna push the annoying Scrappy narrative. Yeah, it can be annoying, but it is over-dramatized, and I do entirely blame James Gunn. Scrappy did save the series and got it renewed, even if it kinda took down the overall quality. Eventually, the franchise kinda stopped being about mysteries and more antics. And it's evident by the last few movies before the Renaissance brought by Zombie Island. I would call it a dark age of movies, but the only other one before it, Scooby Goes to Hollywood, also really wasn't about that. These movies are just kind of forgotten and can be considered the black sheep of the franchise. After the original lost its touch and before it got reinvigorated during a time where teens like Barbera just made whatever the hell they want. Namely, Boo Brothers, Ghoul School, and Reluctant Werewolf. I mean, look, Shaggy wears a red shirt. Now, hell's freezing over. Also, technically, Arabian Nights is in there, but that's not even a Scooby Doo movie, so I'm not covering it. Shame, since a spooky Arabian Nights-based mystery sounds pretty awesome. Here's the next annual movie idea right here. I'm curious looking back on these movies that have been largely forgotten and seen as irrelevant. Do they have more to offer? Are people nostalgic for it? Or should they really be forgotten at time as those weird TV movies that the studio rightfully left behind? So I'm going into the 80s Scooby-Doo movies no one really talks about. First chronologically is Meet the Boo Brothers, the Boo Bros. The title weirds me because they make it sound like this is some crossover, but no, the Boo Brothers are brand new characters only appearing in this movie. But they are built up a lot in the weird intro where a random ghost terrorizes the trio as they flee their house, as the ghost says they only fear it. Oh my god, wait, stop! Is that the angry skeleton meme? I had no idea it came from this movie. I'm not kidding, this legitimately surprised me. This is amazing. It's sad to think this is the most culturally relevant this movie got though. So they're heading to Shaggy's Uncle Beauregard's plantation since he inherited it. The intro makes it seem like they're just on the run from that random intro ghost, but I guess not. But then there's a gorilla? What? And then get pulled over by a cop who takes the role of the antagonistic police force to tell them to knock off the case and just leave, putting them as one of the typical suspects in these plots before it even happens. Saying that the mansion's haunted and it's bad news and they should just leave. And sure enough, they're faced with a bunch of spooky happenings warding them off until their car gets trapped right in front of the mansion. Honestly, this feels exactly like a classic Scooby-Doo story. Which I can't believe it's exciting that a Scooby-Doo movie feels like Scooby-Doo. They also meet the creepy hunchback caretaker named...
I'm Farquaad, manservant to the Colonel.
Farquaad? Well, I guess dreamers need to pay royalties. Also, I'm confused that Uncle Beauregard was a Confederate colonel, which... How did he die recently? I know Scooby-Doo is a weird time frame, but this just feels wrong. Farquaad says Shaggy owns the mansion now, and that there's a hidden treasure of gold and jewels that no one has found but he wants. Also, the sheriff and the gorilla subplot return to show their involvement.
This is Bimbo.
I'm sorry, what? But Farquaad drops a ring Scrappy shows Shaggy, which proves that his uncle wants him to find the treasure. But they don't, and they're forced to stay the night. Now, we're like 15 minutes in, and it does feel like a Scooby-Doo plotline, but you might be wondering, where the hell are the Boo Brothers? Isn't this their movie? Well, Scrappy gets the idea to call ghost exterminators to deal with the spooks of the house, and they'll get the Ghostbusters, but instead literal ghost exterminators, being the Boo Brothers. And they're literally just the Three Stooges, but ghost. Which, technically the real ones are too now, that's morbid. And they're here not as much as to provide extermination, but just... antics. Really long, drawn-out antics. But in the middle of it, we get introduced to a random, sexy hillbilly girl. Okay, I mean, it's better than all this. Now, she's really into Shaggy. You know, it's weird how many times Shaggy's written as a chick maggot throughout the series. I guess it's just because it's funny the dorky hippie gets a ton of girls. Then again, the romance subplot was the best part of Alien Invaders, so I can't say it doesn't work. But their brother, legit named Billy Bob, hates the Beauregards by years of unseen family feuding and hates them for it and wants to shoot him. Legit, just fires on him unprompted. At least they didn't wait for the hillbilly stereotypes. Okay, to be clear, we are 25 minutes into the movie, and we got a haunted mansion Shaggy inherited, a hidden cache of treasure, a hunchback who wants it for himself, a grumpy police chief who wants to treat it to piss off, an escaped circus gorilla, obsessed and murderous hillbilly siblings, and a bunch of ghost exterminator ghosts acting like the Three Stooges who are the titular characters, yet somehow feel completely irrelevant. What the hell is going on? Oh yeah, before you ask, at this point Shaggy and Scoob have been well acquainted with the supernatural, so ghosts actually existing aren't as big as you think. Zombie Island started that push that ignores a lot of stuff in this time frame.
Some dessert. Sure.
You know, maybe you can call again, maybe you can get the Ghostbusters here. But eventually the plot does move along with the string of puzzles left behind by Shaggy's uncle to find where the treasure is. But I guess they didn't think it was enough to fill the movie-length runtime, and that's why I had so many subplots feel barely related to each screen time and interrupt the narrative. And okay, we got skeletons now. I mean, we got skeletons before, but we got an actual masked criminal here. But they get involved in the antics as well.
Alright. Or you do what, bonehead? Let me out of here.
Honestly, it kind of makes it seem like the movie is fighting itself. Like, it wants to progress the plot, but anytime it does, they have to have antics with the side characters interrupting it, like the gorilla or Billy Bob showing up for some hijinks, and maybe if you're lucky, the actual Boo brothers, but they don't actually do anything relevant. Like, I could get into more depth about the plot, but what's the actual point? Most of the plot is pretty much just the treasure hunt, but it does make it hard to feel like there's any actual progress in just moving on to one riddle to another. At least it's a bit engaging trying to actually solve the riddle, but man, some of these are pretty forced.
For the part of the house with its knee out. With its knee out? Right, it's the chimney. Get it?
Like, dude, you're putting way too much faith in Shaggy to do this. Besides, they really just stumble their way to solving it most of the time. I guess it's a good thing. If we have Shaggy and Scooby solving mysteries by themselves, then we just get a clue and no one wants that.
Don't worry about ghosts up here, Scoob. The Boo brothers already checked it out. Now go on.
Yeah, don't be afraid of Ghost Scooby. The actual ghost made sure there were no ghosts here, so there's nothing to worry about. At least they do eventually help ward off, okay, annoy really, the fake ghosts, so they're good for something at least. But eventually even they get sick of them and tell them to finally piss off and that they really haven't done anything important in the movie. Also, it is really fun to see Shaggy legitimately mad in this movie.
And that goes for you nerds too. Like, hit the road. Out! Out! It takes real talent to be as dumb as those guys.
But they play a sob story and say they have nowhere to go since they're orphan ghosts. Wait, how does that work? If you were like born ghosts somehow, then your parents can't die since they're already ghosts. This is what like Billiam said in his video, that their parents lived while they died. Also, they have a bunch of family members before. Why are you doing this?
All we ever wanted was to earn enough to get our own place. You know, just a nice, scary little house.
Well, at least now they're getting relatable. But eventually, after so many riddles and antics, they find the last clue, which says that the treasure's in the fireplace. There's that the skeleton hears and gets rid of them. But like literally for once in the whole movie, the Boo brothers save them, help them get back in time to stop the skeleton, who ends up defeating himself. Oh my god, Shaggy's packing heat! Which isn't the only time, weirdly enough. And unmasked them, revealing it's none other than the sheriff. Like, literally, who else could it be? It's the extended Scooby Doo stuff here. Though he definitely put a lot of quick changes when he shouldn't have. Also, I don't know how much of this could really be him. But then the ultimate Shyamalan twist. He wasn't even the sheriff, but the real sheriff's brother, who coincidentally likes to dress up as ghosts and impersonate them.
By patrol cars and impersonate ghosts and me.
How often do you do this? But in thanks for the Boo brothers' help, and by help I mean literally one time they did anything actually useful, they give them the house. And also give the money for a trust fund for orphans. Okay, I guess. Also, the gorilla and hillbilly subplot isn't really acknowledged, so yeah, that's a complete padding.
Nothing against the Boo brothers, but I hope I never see another ghost.
Yep, me too. Okay, but in all honesty, I don't hate this movie, but I definitely wouldn't call it good. As you can clearly see, it shows a lot from a lack of focus. It does have a plot, trying to find Shaggy's inheritance around a creepy manor, and we do see a lot of locations from it. And it's kind of the most this series has felt like classic Scooby Doo in a while, with a legitimate mystery, creepy location to look for clues in, and a masked villain trying to scare the others to take the loot for themselves. But it genuinely feels like they didn't have confidence in the plot, nor think they can make it to runtime, and filled it with so many subplots that the plot can't progress at all without some gorilla, sheriff, or hillbilly antics, which really makes it hard to get invested in the story. Also, the titular Boo brothers barely really feel like they have a right to be here, and again mostly contribute to the antics while they actually help out at the end. They feel like the least Scooby Doo thing here, which is weird that they only appear in this movie. How is the ghost in the beginning afraid of them? Are they gonna annoy you to death? Like, it kind of feels like someone at Hanna-Barbera had this idea for a show about these bumbling ghost brothers, but decided to shove them in a Scooby Doo movie that needed more plot and title it after them. It's weird that it almost feels like Scooby Doo held the most Scooby Doo out of every movie here, but it's hard to really get into. I'd say unless you're really into Scooby Doo or just want to watch something from this weird time period, that you should just skip it. Next up is the one that's definitely the most famous and favorite movie of the bunch, Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School. Now this one is full of charm and life and has the most cultural relevance from the bunch. It starts out with the gang just driving, again, before getting jump scared by the logo. Seriously, that might be the scariest part of the movie. Also starts with an amazing joke.
Ready? Good. Ready? Writing? Like, don't you mean lightning, Scoob?
He's getting aware, be very afraid. But we learn they're taking a new job as gym teachers for an all-girls school. I don't know how good they'd be considering how much they eat, but then again they can run really fast, so I guess it works. But the facing school is of course creepy and our titular Ghoul School. These guys really just can't avoid creepy houses no matter how hard they try. They soon meet the headmistress, Miss Grimwood, who looks like Elvira's grandmother, and the pet and mascot, a dragon named Matches, who does not like Scoob and is gonna get into some hijinks. And they're contractually obligated to do their jobs and can't leave. Damn, I guess the real monster is legal binding. But soon we meet our Grimwood girls and the stars of the movie. First off, Sabella, Dracula's daughter. A kinda sly and cool girl, considered the leader of the bunch. She's also weirdly not bothered by the sun. Is she like Alucard? I know a lot of people say that she was their first childhood crush, and I get it. She wasn't mine personally though, that was Duna from Falsifiers. Also Winnie the Werewolf, daughter of the Wolfman, and a bit of a rowdy tomboy. Also Frankenteen, nice callback to the bride's original actress, who's a bit more of a slow jock. Phantasma, daughter of the Phantom, whoever that is, voiced by Russi Taylor, which makes me really sad of her passing, but she's played great here, who's a lot of the peppy, giggly, excitable girl personality.
Ox never bother me. Of course, my phantom feet never get wet.
And Tanis, daughter of the Mummy, and is the youngest girl here and is that type of really young, naive sweetheart. And despite the fact that none of them are actively trying to scare them, or hell even actually scary, Shaggy and Scooby are terrified and run away from them. Which, okay, come on guys, this is just pathetic. I mean, how are you afraid of this? They're freaking adorable. But they say they need their help as gym coaches to beat the Callaway Cadets, the rival all-boys military school, at the annual volleyball competition that they lose every time. Wait, you are all actual monsters and yet you keep losing to a bunch of normal guys and you need help to beat them in a competition? Is this like the opposite of Space Jam? But they start out with the ballet. I don't think dances count as gym, but I don't see any of their teachers in this school anyway. The trio does quickly adjust with the whole actually teaching monsters thing, and the girls are excited to learn by them, which is really nice and wholesome. But I need to acknowledge that this scene's background is completely different after the break. So now most of the screen time is Shaggy and Scooby trying to train up the girls in a few antics. But unlike Boo Brothers, I feel it works better. Because not only is it developing the bond between the trio and the girls, but the girls also have really fun personalities that are nice to see interacting off each other. It's actually pretty nice how quickly the duo warm up to the girls when they were so scared of them at first. It also has a much mellower pace and it's more laid back and it's easier to get into. It's a lot of fun. We also see more of the rival cadets, which I will give this movie credit. It would be pretty easy to have them as the jerk bad guys to make you root for the girls, but no, they're also just a bunch of kids and get into hijinks just as much. It feels a lot more enjoyable than Boo Brothers, which I feel is trying to grab your attention constantly. Here you just want the scenes to play out naturally. But it's not long till we see our actual villains, the witch Madame Revolta, and her henchman the Grim Creeper, who just looks like an evil potato.
I will have those good little ghouls in my grasp, and then I will be the most powerful witch in all of Munster.
I don't exactly see your plan here, miss. Hell, is it just me or does she look like she came right out of 13 Ghosts? Hell, maybe she was the real 13th ghost all along. Meanwhile, Colonel Calloway is trying to arrange the game, but he actually has never been here before. Okay, if you've done this so many times, you probably should be aware you're up against actual monsters, right?
Just want to say that no matter what happens on the volleyball court this afternoon, you've gotta win!
Jesus Christ, did I say the intro was the scariest thing? I take it back.
You've gotta win!
Also, Shaggy is surprisingly a better gym coach than anyone would expect. He knows what he's doing, has a lot of exercises, motivates his students. He's a better gym teacher than I ever had. All my gym teachers did was give me a resentment to school faculty members.
Is this loosen up?
But yeah, it's more really cute scenes, even when Scooby falls into the moat with a two-headed shark. I was wondering why they had a moat with sharks, but this thing is pretty gnarly, so I'll allow it. But the girls not only save them, but use it as an excuse to go swimming with them, and make a spontaneous swimming exercise. Again, it's really wholesome and sweet. But it's time for the long-awaited volleyball match. And immediately we see how completely unfair it is that these monsters have all these powers and strength and they're up against normal boys. Again, how did they lose so many times? Was Shaggy's training really that good? This seriously does not feel fair. Like, seriously, look at this. This must count as cheating. Okay, but the cadets go to legitimate cheating where they somehow put a remote control on the ball to control where it goes. I don't know how that works, but okay, that is completely cheating, so I guess the girls are in the right by default. Granted, this like, no one see this? But thanks to Scooby antics, they lose the remote, so it's more fair game. Well, if you can call this fair. But thanks to the ball tampering, the Grimworld girls actually win. Yay, they did it! They finally won a game they had no right to lose. Happy ending. Roll credits. Oh, yeah, I forgot there was that whole evil witch wants to kill them plot happening in the background. But before we deal with that, the girls have an open house inviting their parents. Well, only their fathers, as there's literally no mention of the girls' mothers in the entire movie, except for some mummy jokes with Tannis. I mean, I guess Elsa's mom is probably the bride, that's obvious. And the two are, of course, terrified, stuck in a house with the baddest monsters who ever lived. But as you'd expect, the monster dads are super nice to them, and are especially happy they'd help their kids win the volleyball tournament. How sweet.
Oh, my fault we're here. Hurt you? I want to hug you for making my daughter feel like a winner.
I also do really love the familial dynamics and bonding between the monster dads and the girls. Again, it's so adorable. Like, this movie is so adorable, it's hard not to like it. But as they leave, the monsters also kind of threaten the two that if anything happens to their daughters, they'll go after them. Which admittedly is pretty harsh after everything, but they are monsters, so I guess it makes sense. But hey, it's not like there's an evil villain that's wanting to kidnap them or something. I do wonder why the two are still here if they won the volleyball game. Are they just here for the rest of the semester? And Revolta puts a spell on Shaggy, hypnotizing him to take the girls out on a field trip to the bog where she'll trap them.
This is your target.
But since they're monsters, the prospect of going to a spooky marsh on a bad day sounds perfect as everyone's happy to go in Shaggy's truck. Also, the cadets are going in too, so they're not out of the story yet. But it's not long before Revolta's minions take action and pick off the group one by one. Starting with Winnie and then Phantasma, who really shouldn't be affected. Isn't she a ghost? Though we're the group kind of separated regardless. Come on, you two, aren't you guys supposed to be chaperones? But it's not long until they get Sabella and Elsa and Tannis as the shed becomes a rocket. What? Also, it seems that Sabella is somewhat resistant to the hypnosis, which I wonder if that's referencing that vampires are depicted as very proficient in hypnotizing, so if so, good job. But luckily, Shaggy and Scooby saw the whole thing, along with Matches who followed them and helped Scooby from the creeper to pursue them in the truck, worried especially since before, if anything happened to the girls, their dads would come after them as they make their way to Revolta's castle. Also, I know this shot is supposed to be that the girls are under a spell, but frankly it looks like they're just really dumbfounded at what they're looking at. And apparently Revolta's plan is to make some potion to make them her evil minions permanently? Is that what you meant by being the most powerful monster? Just to have powerful monsters under your control? Not a great plan. But the guys have to make it through the castle, where horrifyingly enough, an enchanted mirror makes an evil Shaggy duplicate who takes his place. Someone at Mystery Incorporated was watching this, and apparently before the ceremony, Revolta just really wants to get some housework done and forces the girls to do so. You know, that's a really funny idea that so many plots have villains trying to drain power and slave other characters in a special event. But yeah, I got some hours to kill, might as well get some of the errands done. But after some antics, the mirror monster gets warded off by Matches, who hilariously had enough of the real world and stuffed Shaggy right out. Remind me a lot of that one Skeletor mirror scene. Come to think of it, it was kind of pointless, but at least they made the creepy castle seem like more of a threat, and it was a pretty unique way to do it. but they gotta hurry and save the hypnotized girls before midnight and try to escape the other traps and creatures of the castle. But also the cadets work together in a helicopter. How do they have that? Since earlier Elsa and Tannis saved them in quicksand and wanted to repay the favor after hearing they got captured. Which again, I do like that the cadets weren't just one-note antagonists for the first act. They do play a role throughout the entire movie and weren't just one-note bullies. Also, this midnight looks a lot like midday. But luckily the duo does come to rescue them before the girls become evil or something. It's kind of vague.
We've got to get out of here before you get revoltized. Like whatever that is, it's got to be bad news.
And by some more antics, they're able to ruin the potion and steal Revolta's wand, destroying it and causing the castle to explode, as the cadets provide a convenient route for them all to escape, as the castle crumbles and presumably Revolta and Creeper with it. All in all, great Castlevania game, would recommend. But we can't just end this normally, we gotta end it with the greatest contribution to cinema ever, the Scrappy rap.
Now let's get loose and dance and clap while I lay on my Scrappy rap.
It's like a DreamWorks dance party ending before that even existed. Okay, I kid, but honestly it's a pretty fun way to end the movie and I can't help but love it. Though it does end with Grimwood telling them of our new students and the gang being too scared and getting the hell out of there. Okay, Godzilla being there is freaking hilarious. But it doesn't actually end just yet, as all the other girls say goodbye as even the gang also join in to give their goodbyes. So this movie, it's weird because it's not like it's a great movie, but it is so enjoyable. It's such a fun and sweet movie that's really built around the new arrivals and their relationship with the main characters. The Ghoul Girls are such fun characters, having colorful designs and great and lovable personalities that you also want to see more scenes with them. And they have a great bond with Shaggy and Scooby, are complete cowards running away from monsters, actually befriending and forming a relationship with real ones, generally trying to support and help them succeed. Just having fun with each other, it's so wholesome. Like, if you think about it, this movie is about Shaggy and Scooby actually befriending and helping out the monsters. When have you ever seen that before? It's actually really unique as a Scooby Doo movie, and yeah, while it is very detached from most of the franchise, I do appreciate it for what it's doing. It's really helped that it's a more mellow and slow pace compared to Boo Brothers, where it takes its time with the scenes and doesn't try to pad them out, just change spontaneously. It's a pretty chill watch. But the plot actually does flow kind of naturally despite its first and second halves being very different. I've seen people complain there, but like, the second half is foreshadowed a lot in the first half to get you introduced to the girls and characters, where it pays off in the second half, so I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, it's not amazing, it doesn't have the same power as the later Renaissance movies, but it is so enjoyable, fun, so heartwarming and wholesome that you gotta love it. It's a charming little movie that I actually recommend you give a watch this Halloween season, and it's really good to get you in the mood. Not as much as Witch's Ghost, but it's still gonna do the job. I can also see why these girls have such a cult following, and are regarded as the most relevant part of the movie. Again, they're super sweet and a lot of fun. Also, they pretty much predicted Monster High with them. Actually, come to think of it, they're kind of like a proto-Hex Girls. In fact, why haven't they ever interacted? Like, if there's ever a Hex Girls spin-off, they need to interact. It's so weird how Warner has taken advantage of these characters returning in the series again. I mean, it has a big fan base and one of the most loved parts of this era of Scooby Doo. I know modern Scooby Doo shies away from the supernatural, but how have you done nothing with them for so long? Like, Scoop had an entire beginning Halloween segment. There's the perfect opportunity to have some trick-or-treaters just like the girls. It's right there. But yeah, these girls haven't returned since their first appearance, and it's so disappointing. Well, not entirely. They did reappear somewhat recently in a completely different series, OKKO. Now, to cut it super short, OKKO is about an over-the-top cartoon world filled with heroes and villains duking it out, but largely focuses on the antics of a trio of teens, okay, 2 teens and 1 6 to 12-year-old, working in a bodega. I actually grew to enjoy this show and might make a video on it later, but the girls make a random appearance in the season 2 episode, Monster Party. Now, it's not that unbelievable. The show has crossed over multiple times with the entire Sierra Multiverse, Captain Planet, even Sonic the freaking Hedgehog. But the gist is that one of the main characters, Enid, a kung fu ninja, is later revealed to be part of a spooky monster family and was originally a witch before she quit to pursue ninjutsu. And this episode shows that during that time she actually went to Miss Grimwood's school and was a part of the Ghoul School. And apparently they were in town for a volleyball tournament and wanted to see their old friend. So yeah, what a way to canonize them. But Enid's worried about disappointing them with her new ninja lifestyle, and it's a classic antic of pretending to still be a witch to impress them. And yeah, after 30 freaking years, we get to see them again in the new art style, with even a few voice actresses coming back. Again, it's so nice to see them here and give it a new life and reintroducing them to a new audience. but the main conflict is Enid dealing with her insecurities that her friends don't like the real her. I do freaking love how the animated shots like the old style, it's amazing. Also, they acknowledge Miss Grimwood's fine in the future and acknowledge Shaggy and Scooby, but not by name.
Hey, do you guys ever wonder what happened to that weird guy with the Great Dane? Oh, yeah.
James said that's such a great bond, but I guess there's some copyright stuff going on. But they all showcase their improved powers, Isabella especially. You know, I now understand more why Revolta wanted them as our private army. But Enid is forced to show how her spellcasting has improved as he messes up and brings a tree to life which captures Winnie and Tanis. Wonder if this is a vague reference to the Grim Creeper. But she can't stop it as it showed us a random Ed and Eddie reference as Enid's forced to make him clear that she's not their witch but a ninja. But of course the gang are happy with her either way and will accept her no matter what, adding that they always kinda knew she wanted to be a ninja anyway. I mean, I guess the Shadow Warrior is also spooky in its own right. As they all work together to save Winnie and Tanis and bond, it's sweet. But they can't end it there as they have another dance party as Rad randomly shows up to do a callback to the Scrappy rap? I guess it really was influential.
Ninja strategy's where it's at. More scary than a vampire bat. Ghoul School girls are nice, not mean. Word to your mummy, it's Halloween.
And yeah, that was the last appearance of the Ghoul School. A really fun episode. Again, it's great to see these girls again. You really get to see how they would have grown up and evolved over time. And tying it to Enid's backstory was a great callback. I love how the girls are just as loving and accepting as they were in the movie, and it makes for a fun Halloween episode. I have a feeling that the writers grew up with the movie and wanted to finally give the girls a return after so long, and I'm very thankful for it. Thanks for finally giving these girls a reappearance after so long. So yeah, well, Ghoul School was a surprisingly good time and the most beloved addition to the series. Reluctant Werewolf has the reputation of being not that. So it starts out with Shaggy apparently being a race car driver? What the hell? When was this ever a thing until... Okay, I guess it retroactively makes sense. He did spend so much of these movies driving, so it's fair enough. He also has a girlfriend, what? Named Googie? What type of a name is Googie? Is that even a real name? It's not, you lied to me, movie. This better be some sort of nickname for her, like Shaggy's real name is Norville. I guess a hippie name like that would work. So yeah, Shaggy has a girlfriend out of freaking nowhere. What is this? They better be careful. Giving Shaggy a girlfriend doesn't usually end well in Scooby media. Well, actually, Crystal was awesome, so maybe it might. It does reinforce what I said earlier that Shaggy's really a chick magnet. But back on topic, this race is less of an actual race and more of Speed Racer Wacky Race's antics. I hope this isn't foreshadowing. Also, I need to talk about the animation because it's weird. I know these are old made-for-TV movies in the 80s, so the quality of the footage and animation is not going to be stellar, but Boo Brothers and Ghoul School did keep mostly the same animation style as the other Scooby Doo properties at the time, for better or for worse. But a lot of Reluctant Werewolf's animation and style looks weird, like it's not designed as how the show used to look, kind of leaning more like a pup named Scooby Doo in a lot of places. Apparently it's the first Scooby Doo movie to be digitally painted and not cel-painted, which does kind of show. Like, please let him out alone here, it's a notable shift. But the movie introduces our main plot through After Effects. Wow, it's like it's 3D. As much as the intro is slow, I do gotta love these backgrounds. They are exquisite to an artist like me. But we see Dracula's upset that the werewolf can't make it to their monster road rally, where I guess the famous monsters just love to have a huge race with each other. Dude, it's like Luigi's Mansion in Mario Kart, it's not worth all of this. But he finds he can turn someone into a werewolf for this, and Shaggy's the target. For some reason. No, like literally, the book just shows him for no reason. What gives? Is it because the movie said so? Also, not even the book knows that Shaggy's name isn't even Shaggy, it's Norval Rogers. Oh well, at least it gives the most famous and memed moment in the movie.
Shaggy? Shaggy? What kind of a name is Shaggy?
I don't know, what type of name is Boogie? I think that's even weirder. Actually, a guy named Shaggy would make sense to turn to a werewolf. But what does matter is that Dracula's random wife and her super low crop top thinks he's hot. Again, he gets all the ladies. Like, is this the peak male performance? I wonder if she's actually Sabella's mother. Hey, wait a minute, Dracula, you were in Ghoul School. You met Shaggy, you know him. Why do you look so different and don't know him? Is this somehow a different Dracula? Is there some parallel world stuff going on here? You know what? That would make too much sense with everything. Dracula never had a daughter, which never made him calmer and more empathetic, and Shaggy never met the mystery game because he focused all his endeavors on his rising race car career and got a cheerleading girlfriend. It all makes sense. How deep does this rabbit hole go? Are all the red shirt Shaggy movies different dimensions?
A cute werewolf? Bah!
I don't know, Winnie was kind of cute.
Hunch Bunch will change all that.
Not the Hunch Bunch.
Not the Hunch Bunch.
Okay, how scary can these Hunch Bunch be?
Crunch says, top ho, everyone.
Blah, blah.
Oh god, they're gonna be annoying, I get it. But there's only 2 hunches in this bunch. Maybe Farquaad was the missing 3rd member.
Hey, there's only like 2 of them.
So we got some bumbling side characters trying to turn Shaggy into a werewolf. So you know what this means. Antics! And yeah, so many antics that these bozos miss changing him for 2 nights until finally succeeding on a driving movie day with Googie. Never gonna get over her. After some more antics, fully turns to a werewolf. Literally, they don't give a reason why. Even the characters are confused on why it goes back and forth. You know, I kind of think that it would be funny if the worker just didn't care that he's talking to a werewolf. I'm sure most people can relate. And more antics with scary people and driving away until the plot finally actually happens with the Huntsbuns bringing Shaggy back to Transylvania to be the new driver.
Hey, Scoop, dig the puss on that chick.
I'm sorry, what? And some more pointless monster antics until Dracula gets so fed up he screams and forces things back to focus to explain that he needs to be the new werewolf driver. But they refuse as Drac forces them all to commit to it, and this part takes up way too long, seriously. Like, this might be worse padding than all of Boo Brothers. But eventually, literally like 37 minutes into the movie, Shaggy agrees to race if Dracula will cure him and sends them all home if he wins. So yeah, we finally got the main plot set up right now. It's about time. But they want to have a test drive for the race as Drac tries to sabotage them and potentially kill them? Like, dude, you still need your werewolf. The hell are you doing? I guess it's just more padding. Oh, well, at least we see the Huntsbuns getting tortured, so that's cathartic.
The new 2 bimbos can't mess up my fun this time.
Did that word just have completely different meaning in the 80s? So Drac really doesn't want Shaggy to win. Again, why'd you get him as your freaking werewolf driver? At least I think it's because then he'll have to change him back so he can't have an annual race? I don't know, man, you just confused me. Just open a hotel or something instead of dedicating your life to stupid races. Anyway, we're almost 50 minutes in the movie, and finally, the race is about to start. Also, apparently the movie still thinks that Transylvania is still ruled over by Dracula and is filled with peasants. Maybe it is. Again, alternative universe theory. Shaggy's worried that he can't do this with a lack of sleep and that Drac sabotages his car in the track, but Googie and Scrappy will take his car to scout out the track for cover, where they finally actually saw a role in the narrative. But we get introduced to the other monster riders.
Frankenstein and Repulsa!
Wait, Repulsa? Is that like Revolta's sister? Maybe there really is some parallel world stuff going on. But yeah, these cars and drivers are feeling very familiar, huh? But the race starts to see a bunch of the car tricks and traps along the roads and the village trying to cheat and sabotage it with a flying machine and... Hey, wait a minute! This is Wacky Races! Like legit, this is just Wacky Races but Halloween. Like every rider is just that one monster car, that's literally it. So all this time this movie was just a wannabe Wacky Races movie? Just make a Wacky Races movie. Seriously, what the hell does Wacky Races have to do with Scooby Doo?
Dick.
Oh, god damn it. So yeah, when a Wacky Races movie disguised as a Scooby Doo movie. And I feel cheated, but then again the movie wasn't exactly impressing me before. Okay, but in this movie's favor, I actually surprisingly did end up liking Dracula more than I thought I would. Like, this guy is so fed up about everything, it's kind of enjoyable. It might be the best part of the movie. Kinda get a lot of Adam Sandler's Dracula from him, weirdly enough. Also, his ditzy and airheaded wife can be kind of funny too.
Here's Vanapira again with some more color commentary. There's some orange and some red and some more red.
Though I thought Drac was gonna race himself, but I guess not. Feel like that would have made more sense of his planet not wanting Shaggy to win. But he's our Dick Dastardly with double our Mutleys. But the hunches play more traps like this spider web? Okay, spider webs have a pretty distinct design. How'd you mess that up? But they engage in more Dick Dastardly shenanigans, as I feel they should have done more with the track itself. They're gonna take this direction. Like, they set up the track earlier. If we're gonna have new stakes in the race, set up some environmental challenges. Now the racers use their car to get over them. It would be more interesting. But even then, Drac said he changed the track from before, so now it's up in the air what this track even is and where it's going. It kind of makes the race worse. It does do that a bit when Drac tricks Shaggy to race through the tar bog, which isn't even in the track containing
The schlock mess monster!
a slock mesh. You shouldn't tempt me, movie. But Googie and Scrappy save them for the monster looks nothing like Nessie as the race can go on. Also, the station is called Croy, which reminds me of that one SpongeBob joke.
And now back to KRUD with all of your personal "you won't get away with stealing my car" hits.
Also, another thing I feel kind of hurts the movie is the other monster drivers don't have much of a personality or uniqueness to them, which in that Wacky Races is much better. They just kind of blend together, so I don't actually care about the race itself. Like, I don't know, is there anything else going on with Jim Cummings' Frankenstein?
Don't worry, my dear. We'll stop the werewolf car cold.
Anyway, Drac's next plan is to pretend to be a cop and pull them over because he ran out of creative ideas. Which, I don't know considering the last time Shaggy got pulled over by a real cop.
step out of the van, please?
Punch it!
But the Hunch Bunch finally get some brain cells and realize they could just sabotage Googie and Scrappy to force them to lose. But then being them, it doesn't work out.
Oh, rival, too dirty, Blick we go.
I say, do shut up and throw it.
But at least the movie is finally being honest with itself.
The race for the Monster of the Year trophy gets more and more exciting by the minute.
Sorry if it sounds like I'm just ripping the whole movie, but literally what else is there to do? This is about the stuff happening. But they unleash their final and biggest obstacle.
Genghis Khan, take one!
Okay, I don't know if I love or despise this pun. What's with these movies and randomly introducing giant gorillas? How else would they defeat them but skateboards? The obvious solution. What, you can't take out a giant banana or something? And they use him to sabotage the other racers to get to the finish line. So yeah, he won the volleyball tournament, I mean the race. But Drax the sore loser and refuses to turn Shaggy back, even threatening to beat his wife, Jesus Christ. But the book can reverse the curse as it leads to, you guessed it, more antics, with a bonus climax of a vehicle fight between the heroes and Drax and the Hunches, where Drax apparently has given up all pretense and just wants to gun them down. Okay, his car can fly, what can't this thing do? And Dracula kind of ends up defeating himself, as the heroes go back home through an Edgewell joke. They reverse the curse really easily as Dracula gets his comeuppance. Or do they?
That's what he thinks. We're back!
And since this is the last time we see them, in clearly a parallel universe as stated before, I'm just gonna assume they killed them. So yeah, this movie, it's a lot. It's kind of evident I spend most of the time just making fun of it than talking about it. It really just felt aimless. It pushes the antics to the brim with a lot of padding to literally get to the main race plot. I already spoke before how the race was pretty disappointing and they took advantage of its unique potential, just kind of being a lot of, and then this happened, without really setting up a lot of progress. Again, why are you trying to make this wacky racist? Just make a wacky racist movie. But I do admit, it was kind of fun in that so bad it's good way. Like, it's so bugged and stupid, it's fun to just riff on it and enjoy the ride. I didn't enjoy it that much. In its defense, it did have a few good things, like I surprisingly did find Dracula a lot funnier than he had any rights to be, with his attitude and flu slapstick moments. He's probably my favorite part, and there's a few funny jokes. And as much as I was weirded out by Googie, at least she did have a legitimate role in the story and helped out when she really didn't have to be. And they did build up their relationship as random as it is. I mean, it's not as good pulling as Shaggy and Crystal, but hey, at least they did it kinda well. But yeah, I find it hard to recommend this movie. I don't even think it's as Halloweeny as Ghoul School. I just recommend you skip it unless you're really into wacky races or nostalgic for it, or if you also want to riff on it. And yeah, those are the 80s Scooby Doo movies. And on the one hand, it does seem kind of evident on how they're forgotten, being sandwiched between the nostalgia of the classic series and the eventual renaissance that created the modern Scooby Doo as we know it. They're just weird, awkward movies that show the franchise didn't know what to do with itself back then. Granted, it is better than how the Scrappy years usually were at this point in time, so it makes sense on why they're kind of treated as throwaway. And while yeah, they definitely can't compare to the movies that came after, I do think there is something to them. Yeah, they're not that well written or animated, but there is something so unique about them. It's created the time of the franchise by just doing whatever they felt like and made some weird stuff. I mean, like it or not, you are never going to see anything like this again in Scooby Doo. And at times I feel like the franchise is completely unwilling to stick away from the same old formula. It is interesting to go back to a time where anything goes. They're notable just by that. They're movies you can't really put into a category and make them unique in that regard. And there's a noble charm in them. Again, largely coming from Ghoul School, but even the others have this retro unique feeling to them of, yeah, the monsters are casually real and interact when it's just Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, and they'll go on bonkers adventures. And they're enjoyable in a weird way. And these feel like backdoor palettes or hell even pitches for it to be Scooby Doo movies. Three Stooges but Ghosts, Monster Girl School, literally just wacky races with monsters. But I can see why nothing came from it. The only one that felt fleshed out enough was Ghoul School, with the characters' personalities and all of other things like the cadets and the spooky locations, feeling perfect for series, and it's disappointing to be hidden aside from the OKKO crossover 30 years later. And they the sue Monster High. Well, I did hear that Hanna-Barbera instead made another kind of similar show named Gravesdale High. But they seriously named a character f***ing Cleopatra, come on. Again, I do think Ghoul School is the best one of this bunch, full of life and charm, just plain wholesomeness, and I'm not surprised it got a cult following, and I'm shocked the franchise hasn't done more with them. And again, is the one movie I recommend you go out and see. Again, I kind of feel it needs more attention. But honestly, these movies are so weird and unique that I do kind of wish it got more attention or acknowledgement. And hell, check them out if you want. They may not be that good, but I think you're missing out if you don't see them. At the very least, there's a rip on them, because yeah, there's a lot of room to do that. But maybe next year I'll go over something more notable in the franchise. But I still think there's something that needs to be said. Give us a Ghoul School sequel, damn it.
Come on, Dane. Let's break it down.
So with the cadets, it was a snap to escape Revolta's trap. Now let's get loose and dance and clap while I lay on my Scrappy rap.
Cool kids rule. Monster, monster high, monster high, monster, monster high.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets.